is the wonderful, the only, I think the only, Kaitlyn Robrock! Yay, give her a round of applause, come on. Thanks, guys. Thanks for making the trip upstairs. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to have you as always. Yay. Well, first, let's get into let's go from the very beginning, if you will. A very good place to start, some might say. And tell us a little bit about how you first got into acting in general, and then we can talk through how you got into voice acting.
Gotcha. Well, I thought I wanted to be a vet, just because animals. And then when I was 8, I believe it was 1991, that sounds about right. I was about to turn 8, and my brother worked all day to convince me, because we always saw a movie on my birthday up in LA when we were house sitting for my uncle. And my brother worked all day to convince me not to go see Beauty and the Beast, to go see Hook instead. Because he didn't want to see Beauty and the Beast, but I did.
That's a tough call though.
And that was like, it's my choice, it's my birthday. So he worked all day to get me to convince me, and of course my parents were like, you did that on purpose. So I went and saw Hook, and that was like a super defining moment for me. Because it was such a good movie, by the way, and also because it was the first time I saw Robin Williams. And I realized, like, I want to do what he's doing. He's making people laugh and he's having fun. I want to do that. And then, like, 2 years later, we see Aladdin. It's Robin Williams again. I'm like, oh, wait, I want to do that. I want to do what he's doing still, but for cartoons. Because it didn't really put 2 and 2 together that you could do that, that's what it was. And then growing up in the 80s and 90s, all of the lead actors of these movies, the Disney movies, were Broadway performers. So I thought, okay, I better learn how to do acting and musical theater and singing, and then I'll go be on Broadway for a few shows, and then come back and do voiceover. And I went to UC Irvine because they had a program that lets you go to New York, and you live there for a month. And you do singing classes, dancing classes, acting classes. And it was a wonderful program, and I had so much fun. But I did learn on that program that the people who really wanted to make Broadway the career, I saw it as a stepping stone. For them, it was a career. So they were getting up super early to go to auditions before actual classes started. When classes ended at 5, I was going to go get dinner and then go watch plays and musicals almost every day. They were continuing to take more classes after the assigned classes, because that's what they wanted. That was part of that hustle. And I didn't realize it until the end of the trip, where it was like, that's not the hustle I want to do. I don't enjoy that type of hustle. And I feel like when you're doing something, you should love the journey as much as the outcome, for the most part. There will always be hardships somewhere. But I realized, like, I'm not willing to put forth that type of energy towards what is needed to do a Broadway career. My face and vocal and body type weren't in demand. I had been injured working at Disneyland, so dancing was kind of off the table. There's snow in New York. I don't believe in snow, and you probably would have to work 2 jobs just to live there. So it's just, all the signs were like, this isn't the way to do it. So I came back to Orange County, and like, I'm not sure where to go. But at that point, the internet was in full swing, like 2006, 2007, and they were offering voiceover classes of various natures. So I signed up for Bob Bergen's class, who's the voice of Porky Pig, and I took his class twice, because I tend to take classes more than once, so it really ingrains in my mind. And after I took his class, I started learning, okay, how do you create your archetypes? You should have 5 to 10 archetypes. Whether it's a different voice or not doesn't matter. It helps, but it doesn't matter, because then you can create a demo, and then you shop the demo around to agents. And I got a little streamlined because I had met Bill Farmer through a mutual friend I met by working at the park. And after talking to him, he kind of gave me a few lessons, and we made our demo with him. And I got real lucky with my very first gig, which I'll come back. And I had that gig, and I had Bill's demo, so he walked me into his agency. And they said, we'll sign you on for commercials, but your animation needs a little bit of work. And fast forward 10 years later, everything I've done has been animation, and I haven't booked a single commercial. So I wasn't meant to do commercials. But the first gig I ever had was super random. We were at Comic-Con in San Diego, and around the turn of the century, there was this show on Comedy Central called Drawn Together, which oh good, You know it. Good, that helps a lot. So the show Drawn Together was on for 3 seasons, and it was one of those anything goes adult animation. So like you can laugh because everyone's being made fun of, and you know it's not serious. And the cast was phenomenal. Tara Strong, James Arnold Taylor, Jess Harnell, Cree Summer, and around 2009, I think, there was a panel at Comic-Con for a Drawn Together movie. They were able to do a direct-to-DVD movie. So my friends and I were like, let's go see the panel. Let's show support. We'll see Jess again, and just gonna have fun with it. And then while we were at the panel, the creators of the show were like, we're gonna do a little contest, and the winner of the contest is gonna be drawn into the movie, and everyone cheers. And then they almost said it like a throwaway, like, no, we'll give them a line or two. And I was like, did everyone hear that? You could actually do like a role in the show, a line or two, but it still worked nonetheless. And if it's a SAG-approved project, maybe you could be Taft-Hartley. Who knows where it will go? But I want those lines.
Yeah.
So everyone's raising their hands to join in on this contest, and they picked 2 people, and my friend sitting next to me just yells out, pick a chick, because they were both 2 guys. And everyone looks at her, and Jess sees me, and they all point at me, and they're like, oh, her, I know her. So nepotism works. So I went up there, and I thought, like, okay, is the contest gonna be reenact your favorite scene, do your best impression, what's it gonna be? And it was, how long can you stay handcuffed to the creator? So they had these like fuzzy handcuffs they got from some indiscriminable place. And they handcuffed us all in a row, there were 4 of us, and we all kind of walk out of the convention, and we don't know where to go from there. And it lasted about 5 hours. And so we were at like the Hard Rock Hotel lobby, just having drinks, and I'm like, I really don't want to be here anymore. And like, I would not be here, but it's a possible role, and like, I don't want to miss out on that. And Jess is having the time of his life, seeing Dave get slowly more and more like annoyed and depressed, because like, you didn't think this through, did you? Because the other 2 guys that were here, one of them lived down there, like 2 blocks away, so he could go home at any time. And the second guy, he had everything to his name in his backpack, and he was just, bumming con floors the whole time. So he didn't care where he was, it was a place to be. And it was backfiring. And so Jess told him, hey, you know what? Let's call it and say everyone wins, everyone's gonna be drawn in, and we'll just say that, but the actual lines of the show, you can give to Kaitlyn with my word on it. She's like, fine, whatever, let's just do it. So everyone was told they'd be drawn in, we were all released, and then I got to do the voiceover, and I ended up doing 3 in the movie, because I did the one, they're like, oh, Jess was serious, you do want this, like I do. So I did 3 roles in the movie, it was uncredited, but that's okay. And then we were all drawn into the audience of one of the shows that the Drawn Together gang crashes. So I have like a white hat and a pink shirt, and it's like, this silly little face they drew, so we're all in there. And it was fun. And I kept in contact with the creators, so they did another pilot for Adult Swim, and I went in to read for the pilot, and they really liked it, and it was between me and Jennifer Tilly, so you can imagine who got it. But there was somebody at that callback who passed my name on to the head of comedic development at Adult Swim, or it could have been him himself. They didn't introduce themselves, so I'm not sure. But that person, Walter, he passed on my name to the people making Mr. Pickles on Adult Swim. And they're like, hey, you should have this girl come in to read for all the roles. She's got that, there's something there. And I go in and I read for the mom and the girlfriend in the pilot episode. And I do the reads for both, and as I'm leaving, they're like, by chance, do you do a little boy voice? So I was like, I do a little boy voice. This is my little boy voice. And they're like, okay, here, read these lines. So I read as the little boy Tommy, and then like a week or so later, they called and said, hey, you've been cast as Tommy and the girlfriend. The mom was Brooke Shields. So that tracks.
Yep.
And the girlfriend died in the pilot episode. So I was lucky to be like, okay, good. I would have just kind of been a one-off maybe.
Yeah.
But I was able to get Tommy, and I did the whole run of the show as Tommy, as Mr. Pickles. And then when it spun off to Mama Named Me Sheriff, where it was like the same show but a different focus, I was still Tommy. It was less focus on him, which wasn't bad. I wasn't sad. But then that show is now like a permanent hiatus because one of our cast members was at the insurrection, so So who knows where that train's going now? So we're just kind of assuming it's over.
Yeah.
But that was the show that kind of helped me break the ice and get into AVO, which is my current agency. And then I just kind of started from then for about, I would say it's been 10 years officially of real proactive being put in front of people. Up until January 2013, up until that point, it was still workshops and classes, so I was still kind of aspiring, still a work in progress. So I consider my real start when I got the agent, because then they're putting me in front of Disney and Warner Brothers and DreamWorks and Nickelodeon. And so it's been about 10 years now. Yeah, it's been 10 years.
It's amazing.
I know, it's really fun.
What would you say are some misconceptions about the kind of work that you do?
One big thing we can point to is like, I remember that speech Chris Rock gave where he's like, voiceover is so easy, you just go in and talk. But like, it's easy for you because you're just talking in your normal, naturally characterized voice, and two, you as an archetype, that's what they wanted. So the voiceover you're doing, it's the same character because that's the archetype they've wanted. So yeah, it's easy because you're just being yourself and that's what they wanted. But it's different everywhere else. I don't know if he's done any other projects besides Madagascar. Whereas like Jenny Slate, she has one voice, but she works all the time in voiceover because she knows how to act and make it from a different point of view, and she's just really good at it. So when people say like you need a huge range, you don't, because she doesn't. She just has really that one voice, or maybe a little lower, a little higher, but she's phenomenal with what she does with it. And I got lucky, like where I can do different voices or different affectations or doing mimicry or this is kind of my natural speaking voice. It's still morning for me, so I'm still kind of warming up. But you know, I just got lucky with vocal cords where when you pitch it up high, there she is. And it sounded very similar to Russi Taylor's natural voice. So I spent a long time just studying her voice specifically. How does she pronounce her vowels? How does she pronounce the like M's and N's? How does she scoop up? How does she scoop down? She crackles into vowels starting words. Like the little tiny details I wanted to focus on because that was going to stand out at an audition. And then she passed away too soon. And it was one of those like, well, you've talked the talk, now you got to walk the walk and see if it plays out. And the callbacks, there were 2 callbacks, and then I got the job, but I didn't know I had the job. I thought it was a 3rd callback. So it was a really interesting day that day, but everyone involved at Disney, everyone had to approve. So like consumer products, Disney television, character voices, the theme park division, so everyone has to be a part of it and like agree, okay, this is the one person we're going to use to do everything. And a big thing was they have to sing. So we auditioned lines that we matched Russi, we auditioned brand new lines, can you carry that character into a new thought, and can you sing a song? And the green flag was I never had to re-sing the song during the callbacks. They signed off on the song right away.
Can we ask what song you sang?
It was Bicycle Built for Two.
Oh.
So it was a really, and they gave us Russi's version from like the 90s, or maybe 2000, I don't remember. But you know, she sang it like really cute and stylized, very vaudeville. So that was the thing I had to remember to bring up. She has those warbles and those wavels from like the 40s and 30s. And, but yeah, it didn't occur to me like, I never had to sing the song. That's a green flag. They signed off on that. Then it was just kind of nuancing and finessing, and can she take direction? Does anyone have opinions? Does anyone think there's something that she can't do that the other ladies and these callbacks are doing? Are they doing anything Kaitlyn can't do? You know, everyone had to be in agreement. So it took a little while, but I was in the booth like, they're taking long pauses. Is this good or bad? I don't know. So it was the most stressful situation because it meant so much to me, and I put so much on the line for it. So I've never had anxiety or panic attacks, but in that time I was like, what if I don't get it? It's like, I don't know what I do.
What was the timeline between the auditions and being cast?
Let's see. Russi had passed at the end of July, and it was about 2 weeks later that they sent out the auditions to all the agencies, in LA at least. I'm not sure. I assume they went to New York as well, or maybe Chicago or Texas. Or maybe they're like, let's do LA first, and maybe the New York connections that have agents that are bi-coastal, and then if we can't find who we're looking for, we'll spread out our circle more. and I'm sure every girl in town read for it. And so we did the audition, and we had a week to do it from when it was received to when it was due. And like, I have my roommates and my best friends come over and like, okay, we're gonna listen to this, I'm gonna play it back, I'm gonna repeat it, we're gonna watch the Three Musketeers movie with Mickey and Goofy. It's a really cute movie, it's very funny. But it was a very natural style of acting for them, where it was just a movie. So it was a really good study tool. And I just got lucky where a lot of the non-referenced lines, I recognized them from other projects. They just changed the names or reworded. I'm like, wait a minute, I know what this is. So I would go and watch the original project. How did Lucy do it? It's totally cheating, but
I mean,
still
it works.
It works. And there were definitely some lines in there like, I have no clue what this is. This is truly can you act it? So I definitely made sure I was showing them that. But there were a couple like, or what I did for like 2 lines was, I did my audition how I thought it would go, and then I went back since I was able to get that source material and see what Lucy did. And both times it was very similar. So it wasn't completely the same, but it was very similar. We're like, okay, I'm in that pocket. I feel comfortable that, you know, I'm in the, what do you call it, like the dartboard. It's in the circles. And then that week after, I was working on Frozen 2, and I got a text like, Disney wants to see you tomorrow. Free up your schedule. Okay, when? Like 12:45. We go in, we do the callback. It was like I said, and then waiting that week was so hard, like constantly checking emails or checking voicemail. Maybe a call dropped, but the voicemail got through, and there was nothing. And by the end of the day, Friday, I was like, I don't know, well, I can relax a little because I wouldn't hear anyway, so I may as well enjoy my weekend. And it was the D23 Expo of that year. And I ran into Bill Rogers and Camille Dixon, who are the voices of the theme parks, like the voiceover that talks to you as the theme park, basically. And they were like, so we've been hearing about you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we were surprised they even did a callback because everyone was so hands on deck for the expo. But we're kind of like hearing, you know, the first callback went through and you were there and these other persons were there. I never knew for sure who else was there with me. I think I know, but I don't know for sure. And they said, like, they haven't made a decision yet, as far as we know, and they believe they would have told us. So I was like, okay, I can relax, just enjoy the weekend. And then the very next day, on a Saturday, there was an Amphibia Big City Greens panel at the expo, and because I did a tertiary character on Amphibia, and Bill was a lead, so like, let's go support him. And then while we were there was an agent whose husband was on Big City Greens, and like, oh, I haven't seen her in forever. Let's go say hi really quick. She was at the front. She had been involved in an accident, so she was in a wheelchair. I'm like, let's go up to the front to say hi, and then we'll go find our seats. And she was saying, oh, just go ahead and sit up here. There's plenty of room. So we sat with her, and it lucked out because the head of television casting came out briefly to say hi to her since she wasn't able to make it backstage with the wheelchair. So he came out to her to say hello and give a hug, and he says hi to everyone there, and he's a handshaker. So he comes down the line like, oh, hey guys, it's good to see you. And then he comes in for a hug with me, and that's very not normal. So I was like, okay. And he just goes, congratulations, it's looking really good. And then he walks away.
Oh.
And like, dude, I just got over it. I just settled down, and like, now I'm back up there again. But it's like, okay, congratulations, it's looking really good.
Looking good, yeah.
So like, I'm assuming I passed round 1, so now we're just waiting for round 2. So I still have to wait, but at least I can enjoy the con, or try to, because then I'm like, what does that mean? How many people are in the next one? Over and over and over. And then on Monday, first thing my agent says, oh, Disney wants to see you Wednesday. Like, okay, good. I have that. So we do the second callback. It was just like the first one, very similar, a few smaller things. And I think we were 7 people in the first callback, 3 people in the second. And then I was the last of the day. So the other 2 ladies were earlier than me, and I was the last. And over the years, people have told me like little snippets here and there, and they're like, well, they had you last because they had kind of pinned you from the get-go, but they wanted to make sure, is Kaitlyn doing everything these other ladies are doing? Are these ladies doing anything Kaitlyn cannot do? Are we all in agreement? Every branch has to sign off. And they all agreed, and I was told, okay, we're gonna send you to television next week. And I thought that meant a 3rd callback, because like for Brett, who does Mickey, he had like 4.
Oh.
And I believe when we needed extra help for Daisy last year or the year before, like it took like 4 callbacks for that as well. So that's kind of standard, I believe. But we only did the 2, and when I showed up for what I thought was the 3rd callback, it was the job. And I didn't know.
Well, I think it is time to go ahead and kick it off to anybody who's got questions out here in the audience. So go ahead and raise them up. I know you got them.
I want to hear your song, the bicycle song.
Oh,
the
yeah.
audition song.
Oh, I forget how it starts, but I know how it ends.
Any part of it.
It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage. But you'll be sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for 2.
So it was really, really like nice and simple, but it's good to like, how does she waver? How does she warble? How does she passionately sing? And because that was very much Rusi's style. And I did hear like one song she did that was kind of a pop song, but it was very pop song for Minnie. And then when I took, like singing was very important for what they kind of were hoping to do. So the songs I've had since have also like tripled in their popness and like, what are you doing? These are so hard. And it's like, well, yeah, but you can do it. Okay.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, but it was like, you have to be careful because it might skew too far out of Minnie into me, depending what key they write the song in. So key of C is my best one. And then, which I think is pretty typical, pretty average. But I've got a fairly decent range, but I can't go too much below C or it just drops out of the character more obviously. But yeah. But we did some really fun songs for Funhouse and Minnie's Bow Tunes. Because Camp Minnie just dropped a few weeks ago, the first half. So I really enjoyed the Butterfly song in the talent show episode. I really liked that one. And then there's another one coming for like when it's raining outside and everyone has to stay inside for the day. So there's a really fun song in that episode too. But they were like, that one was going, you have to do like this. So it's really challenging all the 5 years of music theater training and then 1 semester of opera.
Any other questions? Yep.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in the voice acting industry?
In general?
In voice acting in particular.
In voice acting in particular, most likely, 9 times out of 10 these days, they're gonna want a lot of celebrities who are doing voiceover, which was always the case for movies. Like that never was not there, like going way back. But television shows were very much like career voice actors who just kind of held the fort. But now TV and film celebrities are doing television as well. So it kind of boots you out of the running for main characters. For the most part, like for Amphibia, they had Brenda Song, who was a well-known Disney celebrity, and they had a new kid who was Sprig, because it's always good to get natural kids, mainly for movies. With TV shows, you run the gamut if they go through puberty or not. And then Bill, career voice actor as well, Disney legend, certainly helps. But, you know, still a voice actor just like the rest of us. And the young lady who did Polly, same thing. Like she was a career voice actor, but she had a very evocative read. So you can beat out a TV or film celebrity if your read really does stand out and just kind of hits all the dartboards. You may not have the name, but if you have the right sound in your voice, you know how to act it, you know how to be weird or quirky or stand out, that'll help you. And oftentimes, you know, they'll have these auditions, have these callbacks, they may have had that celebrity in mind, but if they ever passed or chose not to, you're set with the next string. But if they do take it, they tend to take who are all of our finalists and who had really strong auditions. We'll bring them in for additional voices or secondary or tertiary characters. That way they fill out the world with the sounds and acting they were wanting from the get-go. So the hardest thing is just, sometimes you may not know if your audition was even listened to, because we'll submit it, but if they go in alphabetical order of agencies, we're near the top because we start with an A. But if they have all of our auditions and they start listening to maybe their favorite agent first and they hear something that's like, I don't want to hear anymore, this is so good, my instincts are saying yes. They may not have even gotten to us because they're already set on another voice. So it's hard to say if it made it through, or For the most part, they do. Like, they definitely want to give everyone that fair shot, especially if they want to cast for other roles. But you just kind of gotta have to think, after I've submitted it, just don't think about it. Move on, assume you won't get it, but you had fun in that moment. And there's a saying, just because you didn't book the role doesn't mean you didn't get the role. So, and what that means is like, oh, you definitely got it, you understood it, and you did a fantastic character. They could have easily used you, whether there was a callback or not. There just can only be one. So, if you enjoyed that audition, that time spent, you know, it was unpaid, but if you enjoyed that audition, it's not a waste. And you're sowing seeds for possible future, you're keeping yourself updated, you're finding new character sounds or new choices. It should all be beneficial, even if you don't get the job. And sometimes there's roles that you really want, and it literally took me 3 years to get over not booking Baby Piggy for Muppet Babies, because I love Miss Piggy so much. And hopefully I'm not wrong, but it was like, I felt like it was coming off like I was the main choice, because I was very similar to Laurie O'Brien. I had that kind of humor and that sweetness, but one branch that's involved in casting, they really wanted someone else. And because I guess the final cast had kind of lower voices, more like the adults. It was a different way of going about it. And I didn't fully understand that in the callback. I wish I could go back and do it again. But regardless, I don't think I still would have gotten it, because someone later, 3 years later, told me, oh, I worked on that show. I kind of heard about this. They really did like you, but they had to pass because you sounded too much like Minnie doing Baby Piggy. And that was when they kind of put the pin in me. That's when I got their notice of like, wait a minute. We didn't, like, yes, but we can't because of this. So they were aware of that way before the audition ever came, like 3 years before. I had no clue. So that just goes to show you don't know what's working behind the curtains. And I finally got my closure of like, okay, I'm okay that I did not get Baby Piggy because it led to something much more fulfilling.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. One of my favorite things to ask voice actors
Mhm.
are, what are some of your warm-ups that you do before you get in the booth?
It usually takes like an hour and a half to drive to Burbank from Anaheim. So that gives me that warm-up time. So I usually I'll do like the lip warm-ups like you learn in, like a little bit of that. But you do your drills, and stretch out and drink lots of water like this. But I play a lot of music in the car. So I'll just kind of sing along in the car, and that's my warm-up there. And I don't try to sing like super full force. You just kind of sing along to get warmed up and make it
What's
slow.
your playlist?
It's really random. Like right now, it's the song from the Barbie movie with Dua Lipa. That's a good one. Oh Caroline from 1975. Style from Taylor Swift. It runs the gamut. And there's this channel on YouTube. Like you can play YouTube and it will kind of autoplay. And there's this channel that makes 80s remixes of songs. And they sound so good. And I think it's like Tronic Fox, but like he made an 80s remix of like Into You by Ariana Grande or Closer by the Chainsmokers, and they sound so good. And after I've heard them, I'm like, well, what's the regular song? Like, oh, I like the 80s one better. But, so those are fun too. And it just kind of changes, like I collect songs from places. I don't have a favorite artist or a favorite band, but I do like, 1 or 2 songs from most everybody. So like that's the one Taylor Swift song I like. Or like, what about Maroon 5? Like, okay, I like 2. I like 2 of them. Or like 2 Journey songs, or 2 Michael Jackson songs. Like it just kind of, I pick and choose, but there is no like dedicated favorite. I have too much love to give.
That's a really good way to explore new music too.
I think so. And like back in my day, you found new music through Glee covers. And that was like, well, I did learn about a lot of new music because of Glee. And half the time the Glee cover was better than the original. So, but still it was like, I did like learning that way.
Yeah.
About what a new song was. And yeah, like you'll hear it on the radio, what's the current pop culture hit. And sometimes, and I just bop through my radio stations too. And I'll hear a song like, ooh, what's that? I don't know what that is, but the sound is already catching, so you Shazam it.
Yes.
And then take a screenshot. So I learned a lot about the Foo Fighters that way. And we saw their movie, like last year, And
If you haven't, you must.
it's like Studio 666. It's very funny. It's a horror movie, and they did their best. And the lead foo, he's like the best. Dave Grohl, the lead foo. Yeah, he was the best actor out of the bunch. And you could tell, like, okay, these guys aren't actors. Most of them are just like, oh, this is pulling teeth, but they're having fun.
They are.
And that's what matters the most. So I definitely enjoyed it, and the special effects were really,
Oh, yeah.
really
Yes,
good.
they're
It was a surprisingly very good movie.
Yes.
Oh, and Lionel Richie's cameo was good. So again, you should really check this movie out. It's really funny, and it's almost Halloween, so it's a perfect time.
Oh, God.
Also, Willy's Wonderland, if you haven't seen that, with Nicolas Cage. He doesn't say a word the whole movie. He doesn't need to. And I'm not going to say why, but you should watch it, and you'll understand what I mean.